Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. This is Beyond Your Radio, and welcome to another episode. This is episode 5 of What's in Your Ear. But before we move into the ears of our panelists, and while tonight it's only Alex and myself, we do have a lot of ground to cover. Jeff Johnson also sent his picks in. Please, if you're new to the channel or haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And if you've been watching, give us some comments. We love them. Finally got our first comment from our album review Saturdays. Great conversation that might have potentially sparked a panelist edition. And it was in regards to my review of Jethro Tull's Rock Flute, which would be a complete surprise to me because I'm not a Jethro Tull enthusiast. But the gentleman who replied did state, and I love this, he said, "Thanks for trying." And that sparked a conversation. I still want to be a Jethro Tull fan, but I need training. So maybe that'll be a future show, training for Tull. Anyway, Alex and I have been listening to music all this past 2 weeks. Jeff Johnson sent his in. Jeff Young apologizes that he had to step away. Each show is completely unique and should really be an ear opener. It kind of goes across all genres, all kinds of styles. And remember, when we're talking about bands that might have been hits, it's new to somebody in a different age, whether it's, someone in the 50s, 60s, 70s, as well as those in their teens, 20s, and 30s. It's impossible to listen to everything, but as you can see from the pile behind me, I certainly give it a try. And so based on tonight's panelists, I'm only going to state that this whole idea of playing music that people have talked to me about, why don't you play the songs so we know what it's like? I wish I could, but obviously we get demonetized because of the lovely rules of YouTube. So instead, I'll try to tell you as much as I can. Alex will tell you as much as he can and put it in a genre. But really, it's you out there watching us. Click on the band, play a song, play a whole album, better yet. So let's get going. And I think I put you first, Alex.
Surprised when you got to episode 5, you didn't do like a 5 golden rings type thing there.
Well, I know you didn't see, but in the background, the 5 got big and then it went back. Anyway, the art is a work in progress. The digitalization in the background is still a work in progress.
So I'm not even going to try to say this album in Latin, though I probably should. Sivi Pacem Parabellum by Seether. This album, I believe, made your yearly in 2020 countdown.
Yes. Yep.
And just recently going into this episode, I was shooting the shit with Mark pre-show and realized there's 9 deluxe edition bonus tracks to this that I didn't know existed, as if I didn't think this album was great already. Definitely makes me want to kind of see what these are. But from the original listen, top to bottom, if you've never heard Seether, South African rock band, really, really good. Live, there's not a ton of energy, and I've seen them live. I still love the way it sounds, but you don't feel like it's got to be about the music to you. It cannot be about the performance or the show. I do like, though, live, he will switch lyrics up, and all of a sudden it'll just kind of click in your head. Wait a minute, he said that instead of that. Shit. One of the talents of Sean Morgan with this. But yeah, the lead singer wrote every single track here, and they did not disappoint with this album. And so I kind of dug back into the past. It came up a couple times in my shuffle and threw the album on for the rest of the way here. But yeah, I definitely give this one a good listen if you like hard rock. Some very good riffs. A lot of getting away from the traditional structure of the songs in terms of verse, chorus, the typical stuff that way. He composed a really good album of this. It's 52 minutes approximately of just damn good hard rock. So
yeah, I would state that the reason it caught my ear more so than anything was it was a strong hard rock alternative album. It didn't flush into the blues as much. It stayed in the alternative realm, but it was a much harder record than they've come up with in the past. The delivery on it was solid. The production was outstanding. That's really, I can't give a record any time on the top numbered of the year unless their production is fantastic. And this was definitely up there.
And I think another thing with that too is it's a flashback to what they were originally. They were a lot harder of a band, where I think some of the middle albums toned down just a little bit. But when your band translates their album to, if you want peace, prepare for war, it better be a hard album.
Yep. I've not seen them live. I will say that if I recall the 9 tracks, hearing them after, maybe, I don't know whether it was, I don't know if it came after I'd already made my decision or not. I really don't remember them. I do remember the full on, and then they had like a live track on the one.
So the Walmart exclusive bonus tracks had 2 of their past songs live. 2 that they had originally from, as I look at both of those, were older ones. So those were. I know that
recently they've been stuck on this, putting out a rarities, or I think they just went back to the first record just recently and redid that, and it came as a deluxe set. I had some issues listening to it. It didn't bring me back to it like with a new lust and vigor, which I was kind of astounded by, but I might not have been in the right frame of mind. That's the one thing about all this. Like, it's so subjective, right? What are you doing that day? What have you been listening to? And with me jumping all these genres, I mean, this weekend, on Saturday, we're going to be talking about bands that are nowhere near that wheelhouse of music, right? So what's your mojo? What's going on at that point? The background of your life, like I state. So, all right, well, I will do Mr. Johnson's. Chef Jeff is doing this, and this is kind of a precursor to Music Bites' future. I believe he's asked Alex what album he would love to see a meal to, and I believe he's still concocting The Who's Next. And this album came after Tommy. The conception of it was what they kept together from what was supposed to come after Tommy, but did not. I will say this, that the Won't Get Fooled Again, well, people were fooled, because this album came out and they're like, wow, heat this up, blah, blah, blah. And then they got like served up 2 different deluxe versions of this. So they got fooled once, twice, and 3 times. I think the 3rd time was the charm. There is a whole lot of stuff on the 2nd or the 3rd re-release, restructured, whatever they want to call it, deluxe set. I think there's even 2 discs and there's probably a lovely collage of pictures and stuff. This is Jeff's challenge, because he couldn't really remember the record. He said, kind of stuck in the Tommy and a couple of others. So,
and I'm very interested to see where he goes with this one based on the music, because I think when you do some of his past ones where there's a food analogy to it, he wanted something European, Asian, and it's tough trying to find something that's in his wheelhouse. I think of that era, and then find something international. But I'll be interested to see where he goes with this, considering the initial album is just a 9-song 2-sided vinyl, especially considering there's nothing that goes to any sort of where you can go with food other than maybe the color blue and Behind Blue Eyes. I'm interested to see how he tries to pull from this.
Yeah, he'll probably try to go with the rhythm of it, the rock of it, where it's coming from. I mean, Bubba O'Reilly, I don't know, bargain. Maybe it's going to be some low end stuff. Maybe you're going to get some spam.
I'd like some Kraft dinner, please.
To my wife, right? Interesting. I don't know. And then you're going to end it with Won't Get Fooled Again. Maybe he's going to put some sort of surprise in the dessert that no one really You know, wants in there.
Spam.
Anyway, well, I guess we'll move on from there, right? But I'm looking forward to it too. Just so everybody knows, that's probably not going to come until July, that one, because this week is coming up is the June one, which is Paul Simon's Rhythm of the Saints. And if you have never checked that record out, please do so before the Music Bites comes, because that's a rip-roaring, fantastic record. In my opinion, it's either up there or past Graceland. It's completely dynamic percussionary record. So my first record that I've been listening to quite a bit, actually, is one of my favorite female performers still in Canada, is Sarah Slean. Sarah Slean is a classically trained pianist. However, she's not more well-known, but she's more known as basically an alternative pianist that might be in comparison to the Canadian version of Tori Amos. However, I believe Slean is probably more of a composer extraordinaire. She is a wonderful, melodic, lyrically, metaphorically astounding aficionado. This record, which is from 2017, which is several into her years of albums, maybe I'm going to guess 5 or 6, maybe. She has not changed in the way she delivers song and lyric, but she usually has the gift of changing how the piano applies, strings, orchestra, because she can do just about anything. She's also currently right now, I believe, trying to finish up a musical to the movie Maud. If you can look it up. But anyway, getting back to Metaphysics. Metaphysics 2017 starts off with this typical pop kind of thing that she'll do, which has an alternative kind of feel to it, but even in a more adult contemporary. It's called The Perfect Sky. If you listen to that, I guarantee you'll be humming that refrain over and over again. But really why I'm drawn to this record, and I'm drawn to other records of hers, is Nothing But the Light. There is a lyrical line in it that is sort of speaking to me at my age, my position, and it's called, and I will go to it right now. I want to do it the right way.
And I know this has been in your ear for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely.
You have talked about her music to me quite frequently over the years, Beyond Your Radio.
Yeah, I'm just having an issue with the screen showing this. I don't know why it's not showing me everything I need to see. Weird. Huh. Well, I'm a little upset about that. But the lyrical line talks about, well, here, I guess I should have done this another way. So, is this her? Yeah, this is her. Okay. Wow, do I have this all messed up today? Let me go back and make sure that I'm, oops. I think it just showed me, and for some reason, the computer's pausing before it shows me anything. It's crazy, right? So the lyrical line is, so this is a schoolyard and no one survives the terrible beauty of being alive. And I know that she's probably metaphorically she has this thing where she normally goes back in time to other places, especially French Revolution, all kinds of cool places, because she's quite artistic in nature and mind. I know I'm babbling on a bit, but I've seen her twice. The first time in a cathedral in Scarborough, Ontario. Well, a church, I guess we'll call it. Which is a truly unique experience to see someone with a piano and at one point she had to apologize because one of the songs is called Judas. So she figured this might not be the place to play. She's very talkative and fun during shows. And recently I'd seen her at Jackson Triggs, which was, it happened because of a tweet I sent out. And she follows me, and so does Jackson Triggs. And she had put out an album called Land and Sea, which is 2-part. The first part's kind of the adult contemporary pop side, and then the second record, Sea, is more of the orchestrated stuff that I really enjoy too. But it was a beautifully put together record. And I just mentioned that, shit, you should have this. I can see with Jackson Triggs. Well, Jackson Triggs says, hey, how do we make this happen? And all of a sudden it happened. So this is a really good album. Is it a starting point for anybody? I don't think it matters where you start to listen to her. Just keep in mind that you're dealing with that type of adult contemporary with piano, and then it gets really lyrically fantastic. And you pay attention, you'll really enjoy it. There's puns of metaphors of Napoleon and how he can't he's small and shouldn't get high on his only horse, fun little puns like that. And that's what I really love about her. Alex, back to you.
So the band Marquee Grand, these are a couple guys I've run into along the way. Shout out to my buddy TJ, who used to perform bass for them too as well. Actually, little shout to one of the few koozies that came out along the way for them. So
nothing says I'm a band on the rise and a koozie.
So these guys, all great guys. I've had a chance to watch them play at Music is Art this past summer. Pretty much around the social media verse, but when there's not really one album I can pick. I've seen them put out countless amounts of music throughout singles and EPs, and things have been taken down, put back up all throughout the way. But if you have a chance to give these guys a listen, I just wanted to give a shout to a local Buffalo band here in New York. These guys, again, they rock. Like, they put on a great show, sound consistent with their music digitally, and just wanted to give a little shout to those guys, because I kind of forgot about one of the singles they put out recently, and then all of a sudden added it to the list and had a bunch more that I was just like, you know what, today's the day to put on a little Marquee Grand kick and go through it. And I have plenty of those days listening to these guys. They're one of the better, more consistent bands I've heard from the area. So yeah, give these guys a shout, give them a listen, and follow Marquee Grand if you can, anywhere you're listening to stuff, because they did a really good job over COVID too, with their Marquee Mondays and some live shows over Zoom, and had some fun with that. So
they did some Zoom performances.
Yeah, they did. They had about like 45 minutes to an hour, and they do throw some really good covers in there, do some of their originals, tease when the newer singles were coming out and stuff too. So
yeah, there was a thing that a production company that was using, they called Side Door, and Sarah Slean used it, and she did a concert from her house.
I think we talked, actually. I think it was because of her and me listening to them, you and I had a conversation around the same time over it. That was back when I was in Indiana. Yep.
Just kind of, I guess that, technically I was kind of stunned how fantastic it was, because it's as intimate as you can get. She sees you, you know what I mean? You're on the screen if you want to be, and there had to be 700, 800 people in the Zoom. It's crazy to me how they did it. It's not a Zoom, it's whatever, but the guy who's producing it, he's in his house somewhere away from her, and she's just there with two pianos and changing different cameras, and it was really good. And when these bands do these, and like Marquee Grand, these are ways to get themselves out there. Buffalo's a hard market, okay? I feel for anybody who's trying to make it in this market, because you're kind of lambasted with a couple of things. Number one, the radio ain't going to help you, because the radio is predominantly country. Playing around the area isn't going to help you, because predominantly Canadians will come over and crush you, because they're getting airplay that's coming across, and it's already been kind of our thing. I love that the Goo Goo Dolls do what they do with what was it you called it? Music is art? No, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
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 And giving some exposure. And the only way this really happens is things like we're doing right now. This is a great band, really, locally. I don't know if I would say they found their signature yet. Maybe that might be the crossing point. They do a lot of things well. They're stuck in this EP hell that I don't know what if they, I mean, what are there like 4 EPs maybe?
Yeah,
Maybe
they've had a couple here and there, and some that were put up and taken down, and I don't know. It's
yeah,
hard to.
it's hard. I mean,
The
they
only
got
thing it's a little hard to
16
track that way.
subscribers on the music service I listen to, right? And that's but that I see that all the time, especially from these stoner doom metal bands that are being produced by Ripple Music or Small Record. Is that the name? Terrible tonight. But yeah, it's tough, and I applaud you for pushing them there. And it's not a shameless plug, like you're trying to help them along. They deserve a little bit more than what they're getting,
Absolutely.
maybe a lot more. They need to open for somebody big, even if it's the Goo Goo Dolls, for crying out loud. Or that's how I found out about some of the bands that were kind of like Clear. They opened for 5440, or they opened for somebody here that was coming into town. Obviously playing small shows.
I remember them too as well.
Festivals.
Yeah. Well, it was always
I've
better
seen
when you had like the Lockport series too, right?
Mhm.
For some reason there was always a decent opener in that. That's where I first heard Kingsfoil, back when Frankie Muniz, the former actor from Malcolm in the Middle, was their drummer at the time.
Okay.
And I think they're still active without him now that he's a race car driver, because he's had every other profession under the sun. But and they were pretty good too. And I forget who they even opened up for the night they were here. It might have been Theory of a Dead Man even.
Okay.
But yeah, they were awesome, and their sounds were nothing alike with them. But yeah,
Check
you're
out
right.
Marquee Grand.
It is a weird market to do so.
Yep, it is. So Chef Jeff goes back to the classics with Eric Clapton, Backless. This is Clapton, how Clapton was, and always will be. I when you think of Clapton, it's slow hand, right? A lot of great stuff on here. I can't see 1978. I don't know if this was a great selling record for him. When you look at the list that are the songs, Walk Out in the Rain, Watch Out for Lucy, I'll Make Love to You Anytime, Roll It, Tell Me That You Love Me, If I Don't Be There by Morning, which is a Dylan track. I think there's even Tulsa Time isn't his either. So a little bit, I mean, it's the blues. Totally. And this is the following up on Cocaine, right? The 1977 B-side song. So this album might not have been as successful as Slow Hand, and then Just One Night is next in the lineup. But certainly anything Clapton touches has that feel, and it's Clapton, start to finish. I don't know maybe this was like 6 albums, maybe 7 albums in. You say that, and then you go, well, what band was he in at the time? So there's probably other albums before that too. He's kind of one of those guys where you're like, God, it wasn't even worn out by 1975 probably. He was playing everywhere and anything. But I guess if you love it, what do you care, right? You get up there.
It's a large catalog and one heck of a discography to dig through.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So for my second one, I'm going to go a little strange and off kilter. So the band is Calexico.
You strange and off kilter? No,
Tate isn't so, right? So this is Calexico's Feast of Wire. This is their 4th album, but today, or this year, we'll say, it's 20 years old. Who is Calexico? mean, this was 2003. This was a groundbreaking kind of record for them. They had 3 others beforehand, but this kind of put them in a, I don't know, in a genre that people started to recognize and accept. So this is groundbreaking rock desert jazz. What? What is desert jazz? That's instrumentation that has a regular rock and rhythm, but addition of horns, Spanish flair, even accordion. And of course, if you got Spanish flair, Spanish words, places, and Western type feel. Now, when it comes to this record, I tell people that one of the tracks, Palete, what is the name of it? Pepita, sorry, Pepita. That is the signature sound of Calexico, if you, in a small part. And then everything else they do has a dark feel to it, yet a flair. I don't know how to explain it to you other than you're kind of hopping and loving it, but to realize that there's a dark side to what they're singing about, or this undertone of poor, or this undertone of not as privileged but experienced. And these are not Spanish guys doing this, just so we're aware, right? There are people in the band that are basically, you know, from that West Mexico or New Mexico, Arizona kind of arena. And Blackheart, Cuatro, which what's called The World Drifts In. This is probably one of the most unique rock bands that you can put in your headphone today. It can harken back to a style of music that you weren't aware of at the time. And we're talking 2000s, right? They're 20 years old now. This record does come with an additional bonus from live at the China Theater in Stockholm. I've seen them live. I took my brother-in-law and my sister. They were amazed, astounded by what they were hearing, and that the band wasn't bigger than that nationally, and that they had really never heard of them that much. But I would say in the community of professional musicians, this band is very well known, very well respected. Iron and Wine does a lot with them. And just in case you wanted to go down a rabbit hole, I started a bands that would be like them, okay? In the wheelhouse. Timber, Band of Horses, Iron and Wine, Devochka, which is a Russian band, Firewater, Nina Natasha. You got Richard Hockley, Robert Gomez, even parts of Ryan Adams, Ryan, not Brian. The Cowboy Junkies, more on them on Saturday. Bell and Sebastian, Jim White, who I would also check out. And one that played right after I was done with this long session of music called Hermanos Gutierrez. Then of course there's a lot of other ones in that like the Sadies, the Wilderness. So desert rock jazz, desert fusion. That's Calexico. And this is Feast of Wire, the 20th anniversary edition, which will give you that 20 years ago and a live performance, which was damn good, and maybe put you down a rabbit hole of 7 more albums from there.
You always never seem to miss with something surprising.
Well, the last one ought to just blow it out the water. Next up.
I kind of went with a little bit of a throwback here. So Come Clean from 2001 by Puddle of Mudd. This album, you could probably hear it on a mishmash of best post-grunge albums, best ofs, when CDs used to be a thing. One of these tracks will always have popped up on it, but I kind of revisited it recently. It was always just a good fun album for me to, throw my head down a little bit, and a lot of this, and they're a band that's always floated around for me, that I didn't realize how good this album was until probably even 3 years ago, when I got a chance to go back and listen to it, just out of will, when I realized what was on it. When I started getting out of listening to just singles and trying to piece together what albums I really did like it over due time. And I think over time since then, as I just look at the list, like I remember when Famous came out, right before I got into high school. Same thing with, Songs in the Key of Love and Hate. That one came out while I was in high school. And it was a big pump up album for me before hockey games. And then I think you were the one that tipped me off to Rediscovered when they did all their covers. And I actually loved their cover of Gimme Shelter off that. But they
actually played live in Lockport, and all they did were the covers.
See, I was at the concert. Well, I think they two-parted it.
Oh, yes.
I was at that concert and they did play
correct.
Other stuff.
Yes, they did.
So, but yeah, I mean, that cover of Gimme Shelter was there, but Come Clean's the album that started their fame. Yep. Despite the problems I know that Wes Scantlin has had in his personal life,
that's for sure.
They seem to just never go away sometimes, and they're that clutch, good, hard rock, grungy sound that you just need that day. And so this album was one that came up recently for me, and played it right through.
This is one of those, again, I'm going to go down this just for people joining in, and I don't know where they're going to start in Beyond Your Radio. Puddle of Mudd. There are going to be people out there, music aficionados, progressive rock people, that are going to poo-poo this band, their music, like Nickelback and everybody else from the 2000s, that there was garbage music that was getting shoved down your throat by the radio, and while all this other stuff was missed. That is not the case, okay? It's again, it's subjective on their end. I will say this. They sold 5 million copies of that record. It went 3 times platinum, okay? It means that it got love, right? It hit on a chord with a lot of people. It got them moving, it got them grooving, rocking, whatever it may be. That doesn't take away from what it is, what it was, and those that were around it. I like the exposure of you talking about it. Some people would say, well, that's not Beyond the Radio. It is in an instance of, is this going to get played? Are they going to be on 97 Rock on their band battle? Probably never. Probably never. I don't know why. Even let's say they were, right? They're voted off the first day. Yeah, let's say they're going up against Pearl Jam. They're done, right? But they still they definitely the same argument for they just released an album, Buck Cherry.
Yeah.
Okay, Buck Cherry's got a new record out.
Very similar bands in that sense, yeah.
Correct, right? And well, maybe a little bit more heavy on Buck Cherry right now, right? Because they got that guy from another band now playing, so it's got a little metal glam to it. But anyway, all I'm saying to you, everybody watching this, is like, don't get fooled by other people and say this isn't good. I don't ever say that. It's not my wheelhouse. Maybe it's not. I'll never say it's garbage, it's shit, it's crap. I will say one time, maybe down the line here, I might say this record should never have been made. And a band like Metallica and Lou Reed coming together, no, it didn't work for anybody. Not even Metallica, not even Lou Reed. But I can listen to it and go, wow, I can hear the Metallica and I can hear Lou Reed. Were they even in the studio together? Doesn't seem like it. Anyway, I digress. I just want to make people aware
And where
that
I'll
when we
argue
do
that
these
too
shows.
is a band that had this big of an album. I do believe this album gets forgotten. And
Absolutely.
outside of a couple singles on some of those other albums, you probably never heard most of the rest of them either. So I think this is something that people need to discover just outside of, granted, what, 4 of the 11 songs were singles and very big ones at that.
Mhm.
Give the other tracks a try on that.
It's all in the same. Creed, Puddle of Mud, Seven Mary 3, all
Yep.
the, all this stuff that's coming in the late 90s that was still trying to hold on in the 2000s. Music changes. Some bands go with the changes. Some bands try to hang on and see what happens. Some bands have their followers. Like, I'm going to talk about one probably in a couple of weeks, or called Driving and Crying. All right. They never changed. They're still around, but they've never changed. And they've made it through because they have a loyal fan base. Anyway, good pick, Alex. I while it's never going to be on my top 500 albums of all time, it's still a record to go back to, and it fit, and it still fits today. It could be played. It has
And there's a lot of good emotional meaning behind some of the lyrics in that album too. That
Yep.
People gotta give it credit for.
So with Jeff's next pick, The Gambler, Kenny Rogers, baby. You come on, it doesn't get any more classic than that. All right. You can't poo-poo that record. Hell, everybody sings The Gambler, right? All I know is that I don't remember a single track on that album other than the lead track. All right. Should I? I don't know. I know Jeff might be a little mad at me that I don't recall, but I did like Kenny Rogers. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to look.
If you knew anything else on that,
Do you? I mean, you're a country guy. Shouldn't you know?
let me give her a look.
So first of all, I typed The Gambler, and of course the song comes before the album.
Correct. I got the same exact thing. That's
So
never a good
guess what?
sign.
The song is better than the album, maybe, huh? Actually, I shouldn't say that. That's unfair, but all right. She Believes in Me, the Who Doing of Miss something or other. Hang on.
Fanny DeBerry,
San Francisco Marble Joy.
Mabel Joy, yeah, no,
I
Morgana
like
Jones.
The King of Oak Street. Now that I could. So
I
let's I don't check something. So The Gambler. So we all know Kenny Rogers didn't write any of this stuff, right? Everyone's pretty much
Correct.
aware of it, right?
Except
So
for the last track on it.
Morgana.
Jones.
Oh, I know that song. Please Leave Me Alone. Morgana Jones, right? I can't think of the melody. Yes, I know Morgana Jones. That's a darker kind of devilish kind of song. It's his Devil Went Down to Georgia, maybe. Right? Maybe. Well, wait. We have a Zoom. Wait a minute. A Zoom person is joining. Could this be?
I will say, I wish I could hurt that way again. Went to number 3 on the country charts, sang by T. Graham Brown. I am now looking at.
T. Graham Brown?
Never heard of him.
I think Chef Jeff is trying to join us right now. It could
Hello,
be.
hello.
I hear you. Don't see you yet.
Well, I don't know why. It says I'm seen. I don't know why. Here, let me find out. Do. There we go.
Hey.
Yeah.
So we're into the show. We're pretty deep in, but right now we're at The Gambler, okay? And I haven't trashed it, okay?
Yeah.
But I would love to hear how this was in your ear, because what we know is this. The name of the album is pretty much all the single of The Gambler, because when you type The Gambler, the album doesn't come up, the single does, right?
Right.
So take us through this with your era and time frame.
I love the album. I always have. You know, it's he's got a voice that's unmistakable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've listened to the album. In fact, what happened today, why I'm tardy, is I was mowing the lawn and I've completely lost track of time. all of a sudden I look down and I see from an hour ago, I see your message. Are you joining us? Well, no, I am. I'm just a late straggler.
So check this out.
They
So
have
check this
grass in
out.
Hawaii. It's not all sand.
I'm all
Oh, they
grass,
got
baby.
crabgrass, man. It's easy to cut. He's just making a big deal out of it. It's easy to cut.
No, I got crabs in my grass, actually. So,
Personal shit I don't need to know.
yeah, well, hey, but there are remedies for that. So
Yes,
hey,
there are. Yes, apparently listening to the gambler.
yeah.
Hey, was it Morgana, leave me alone? I got my own kind of satisfaction. Is that the song on there? Is that the last track?
I think so.
You don't know, or did I just butcher
No.
it?
Most
I would
likely,
guess to say that if Mark's doing it, it probably didn't do the song justice.
No, I was gonna say he butchered it. So,
Yeah, I can't sing like Kenny Rogers. You know, I don't have like raw rocks in my throat, but yeah. But I will say that I said to Alice, I said, I don't think I know any other song but The Gambler on there. And then I went, no, Morgana Jones. I think I know that song.
All because you were looking for what he wrote on the album.
Yes, he didn't write. I didn't think he did. He was, you know, songwriter on this record. He's not.
Well.
So Jeff, with just going back to Eric Clapton's backlist, is there anything you want to? Because we already did backlist and we already did the Who. Anything you want to add?
well, yeah, I will add a couple things. I'll do it real short. First, The Who. I love that album because, I mean, I have almost all the Who albums and they're all delightful. But what I like about that album, it's a
And Hawaii strikes again.
hodgepodge.
There he is.
There we
is.
go. There he's back.
Why did I leave for a minute?
Yeah, you got jumbled up a bit.
No, I get jumbled a lot out here. It's the drugs I take, or lack of one of
Yeah, you're kind of staccatoed.
I'm blaming the crabs in the grass, clipping all of his Wi-Fi wires.
the other. Yeah, well, funny. And this is the God's truth. So now and then, every 2 or 3 years, we get these really, really high tides called king tides, and where now, even though the back of my lawn is about 85 feet from the actual water, that during a king tide, we have seen crabs, fish, starfish, a bunch of other stuff on my lawn. So yes, there are crabs in the grass. All of a sudden, dead silence here.
Oh no,
No.
he's
I got
flipping.
you. I just, for some reason, my PowerPoint presentation just took a poop. There we go.
Well, Mark, what's with the hat?
It's I bought a new hat.
You look like you're from Switzerland.
Well, you haven't seen. I got my stockings on.
Yeah, I bet.
Should have
I
wore
had
suspenders
my
for the
kilt on,
show.
too.
Couple suspenders for the show, a little bit of yodeling. And
I don't do suspenders. My pants stand perfectly because I've got a nice spherical ass. It's beautiful.
Well,
Scientists use it to fine tune their instruments.
I just
You-
want to know what accent that is.
you don't do suspenders, but you sure as shit also don't do Morgana Jones vocally either.
No, I don't. I don't. All right. So my final record for tonight is by a Canadian band from 1990 that I just have a passionate flair for. This album usually is on my listen to list in any travel. It comes with me. And other albums they have as well, but they were not around as long as I would like them to be. As a matter of fact, I have been ridiculed on Twitter on many occasions where someone says, "Oh, there's a reunion." And I get all excited. I say, "Is it a Bootsauce reunion?" And everyone normally goes, "Mark, no, it's not a Bootsauce reunion. It's, it's a reunion of the Who or the Beatles or, the Rolling Stones. Who cares, right? It's never going to be Bootsauce."
I would love
But
to see a Beatles reunion.
For right? So what is Bootsauce? Well, this is a electric fusion of genres that include garage rock, heavy metal, funk, and there's a lot of funk, rap, and jazz. This album also introduced other elements that would prove to be kind of their signature. And what they did was they loved to have little sexual innuendos. And you say, Mar, this is a kid's show. Well, take your kids away because the album titles are going to sound a little, innuendo-y. So let me give you the first song on the record, Let's Eat Out. I guess you can go anywhere you want to go out there, but apparently she said, let's eat out. Scratching the Hole. The one that doesn't have any sexual innuendo and just goes right to it is Sex Marine. And they love a little toilet humor, so check out the Catastrophe Seas. So there are some really great songs on here too that don't go into the. Everyone's a Winner was a big seller single-wise in Canada. Everyone's a winner, baby. That's the truth. Play With Me, another sexual innuendo song, but kind of a slow burn. Payment Time is talking about a collection coming, not so nice. But the way he sings it does a deeper, lower key. There's also Catcher in the Raw, and Master Stroke, which finishes the record. So Bootsauce, I got to see live at the Great Canadian Party, along with Amanda Marshall, Sash Jordan, Spinal Tap, Slick Toxic, Tragically Hip, 5440, Marshall Tucker Band. So Bootsauce came on, and it was just great. It's funk. They don't care. They play it. There were girls jumping on stage, and the bassist, they would figure that there would be security that would bring them down, and there was no security. They just said, yeah, the girls are okay up there. Just let them hang all over me. I don't. But it's a funky record. I would recommend it to anyone who loves that, to see their rock funked up and they're having fun with it. Again, I have to tell you though, this is 1990, so it's garage oriented in its delivery. So a little bit, the pace is not, it's a little, the production side is a little grungy. So.
See, I
Chef
feel like this should be an album for Jeff to do a music bites to, just off of the Let's Eat Out to start.
I'm already thinking the same thing. In fact, I may change the New Year's Eve dinner to that.
Not again.
Yeah, and you all have to wear lingerie.
Oh boy.
You know what? I got a lot of plans on New Year's.
I've got to go on a diet. I don't think I can fit my lingerie anymore.
No, excuse me, Alec. We're going to send you a black teddy.
That's racist.
Sweet
Probably
Jesus.
so.
Anyway, I will tell everyone thanks for listening. So we're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hell, I even did a LinkedIn account. All right, and about an hour and a half. No, that's 2 hours ago now. 2.5. The What's in Your Ear episode 4 just showed up. So everything's out there to subscribe to like, to comment. Happy listening, everyone.